why is this happening again? And we
Yeah.
know that forgiveness is a huge part of like
Right.
repentance and forgiveness, right? Repentance is really the accountability piece. It's the ownership piece. It's the
And
saying,
release.
here's where I'm
If you
at.
forgive, you
Yes.
release it. You don't grab
Massive.
ownership back again and say, "I'm gonna just chew on that a little bit more." I release
No.
it, and people are like, "Aren't you resentful that that happened or this happened or they took the" No, I'm
No.
grateful, and then
Yeah.
I'm gonna replace it with gratitude because without them, I would not have evolved or learned, and I wouldn't be at this next level of
Right.
understanding
Right, the wisdom piece and also the
the
level of
wisdom.
service, right?
Yeah,
I was just sitting at coffee with a friend earlier, and she was talking about how she wasn't able to relate to this particular person who was just in the throes of grief after miscarriages,
mm,
and
mm,
she was like, I do resonate with these feelings. I actually do understand how you're feeling, but the girls just like kept hitting a brick wall in the conversation to the point where the woman was like, "Well, you know what? I'm going to serve you anyway by having conversations with people you should be having conversations with." So she
yeah,
had this person on her podcast and she passed the podcast to said friend. And when she did so, even though they were the exact same things that she was already saying, the person had all these light bulbs go off, all these wisdom factors, because there was this resonant frequency that she couldn't establish herself simply because she hadn't walked through that trial and tribulation. And
yeah,
so when people are walking through something heavy or hard, there's a part of me that's like, ooh, I can see what God's going to do with this. Like, I can
yeah,
already forecast it's going to
yeah,
serve abundantly and it's going to bring people into Himself. That's what He's here for. He's here to draw people in. And so,
yeah,
while He might not
yeah.
press in or create the problem, He's going to sustain you through the problem so that you can have this level of wisdom that you are created to be able to share if you're not
Yeah.
selfish in it.
Yeah, and energetically, we can, I love scientific facts that now that we know
Yeah.
gratitude is a high vibration that
Yes.
can be measured. And we know that over here on this energetic, and I love universal laws. God gave us these universal laws to play with, that here He creates it. And then over here in the 9.999 of the unknown, that is faith, that is
Yeah.
not knowing the outcome. We're
Yes.
married to the process, we divorce the outcome. That if we know the outcome, we're over here in the stories and it's cyclical. We're in a cycle
Yes.
and we're not
Yeah.
going to get a different result. But the ego says, just try it one more time.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
just see if we're going to get a different result. But over here, energetically, it's the faith, it's the connection of the unknown, it's all the things that we can't see, but now actually can be measured. Energy is what we were created in His image, and all of these things that we are is, I believe, faith-based.
Yeah.
Faith is in the unknown, faith is in the not knowing, faith is in, wow, I'm here and I don't have to ask why, I just have to trust. And I
Yes.
have to have faith. Trust and faith,
Yes.
I think, are the hardest things for people to make that shift, the 100% shift in and abandon that grind of worry, doubt, fear, because it's
Yes.
such a comfort and it's been
Yes.
such a constant companion. And it's like, well, what am I going to do
Absolutely.
if I don't worry? What am I going to do if I,
Yeah,
and we know this is subconscious. People
it
don't
is.
consciously say, I don't want to sleep. I want to worry. I want to be freaked out about lack and scarcity and
Yeah.
all the things. But
Yeah, but
in
it's the new neural pathways, and that's the
yeah,
understanding that anything that you do for the first time is gonna feel odd, uncomfortable, a little bit
terrifying.
out of body, right? You're like, I don't wanna do this." It was so wild, even just yesterday, Dana, I was asking my daughter, "Is there anything you've ever been afraid of that you've never told me
Mm.
about?" And she really pondered it. She's only 10, so I wasn't really expecting
Oh,
her to go
love
there.
that age.
And she said, "Remember when we did that zip line through St. Thomas?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she's like, "I was really afraid that I was gonna fall out of the harness and I was gonna die."
Mm.
And I was like, "Wow, Waverly." And she's like, "It wasn't the heights. That's not what scared me. It was like I was gonna fall out and die." And she said, "But I just closed the enemy's mouth and I did it anyway." And I thought, God, you're 10. If people could understand what that even means, you
I
just
just closed my
closed
mouth
the
and I
enemy's
did it
mouth and you did it
anyway.
anyway. So
Yeah,
this chatter that goes on in our mind that is often an intense, completion of what we think is our thought and going to be the outcome,
yeah.
most of the times are complete lies, and it's a
Complete lies.
fictitious idea. It's an imagination no different than faith. So you
Yeah,
either are partnering with a lie or you're
yeah.
partnering with the truth. There's no gray area. Gray area is where
Brilliant
most
way
people
to
hang
say it.
out.
And
right?
partner with a lie can show up with, I'm going to binge Netflix all day. I'm not going to do what I
Oh,
need to do. It's overwhelming. I don't have the information. I'm
yes.
not her. Active comparison. It just tumbles in. And then
Oh,
we just like pull the covers over and there's a lie. And
yep.
my book is The Truth Within the Lie.
Oh, no way. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, guys,
yeah,
I didn't know
yeah.
this. This is
This is the rough
so
one.
good.
It's the first time I've actually announced the title, but I mean, it was just too perfect not to say it.
Well, no, I
It's
mean,
The Truth
literally,
Within the Lie.
I had no idea it was called that. That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And this is the
Wow.
last edit before and I'm struggling with the stories and I'm like, just let it go, Dana. Let it go.
Yes.
Let it go. Do not
Yes.
rewrite it. Do not edit. And they're like,
Oh,
it's great. I'm like, let me just print it out and read it and one more
and
time.
spiral bound it.
I
Well, you know
did.
what's
I
interesting?
did.
And
They
you
said, "Did you print that out?" I'm like, "I sure did." They said, "Well, we put the editor's notes in on the computer." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, but I just wanted to
I
read it
need to
like a
hold
book.
it.
I
Yes, I
need to
need to
hold it."
hold it. And
Yeah.
you mentioned this, and I think a lot of people deal with this, and so I'd love for you to give your own wisdom here. You mentioned like the tension of even being with your daughters, talking through some of the storylines, talking through
Yeah.
what can transpire, and there can be this like friction point with family or really close friends, specifically family. How
Mhm.
have you helped people through that? Because I see this over and over again, and we know even Jesus was kicked out of his hometown. Like
Yeah.
that place of where should be the place that people nurture, should be the safe zones, should be
Should
this
be.
place where they see you the most and they know you the most. But Dana, I've probably felt more seen by
Mm.
you in the short amount of time that we've been
Yeah.
connected than to some of my family members. So
Oh,
talk us
absolutely.
through, why is that? What is that? It drives me nuts.
Yeah, that evolution is a big one. I would say the unsafest place
Yeah.
is with family and friends. It's just like when I was launching and I co-founded Cauliflower Foods. Everyone thought it was a terrible idea. No one's going to buy a cauliflower pizza crust.
Me.
And it's like, but I had this deep faith in knowing I didn't know how to do it. So
Yeah.
we partnered and then of course it's $1 billion industry.
So
So you've got to stay in this faith, but with family, I think we have to put death, and they will be our biggest triggers. If we can heal
yes.
that core wound, they're gonna go back and anchor us back into old stories.
Yeah.
And if we have any shame, if we can show up without shame, we can show up and say, I love you. Please forgive me with vulnerability and kindness and hear them that what they have to say, we don't resist because we need to be heard, but we're showing up and saying, yeah, there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah.
I am accountable for all of that. It is not easy to sit and sometimes it feels like a pack of hyenas on you and you're like,
Yeah.
is this really happening at Thanksgiving? And they may have that story of you in relationship with you forever.
Yes.
I One of
Yeah.
my daughters said, "This is the way I know you, and I'm never going to forget." She said, it was a tough trip. I'm
Yeah.
never gonna forget what you did." And I sat there like catatonic. And then
Mm.
she said, "But I love you
Mm.
and I forgive you." And it absolutely cracked me open.
Yeah.
And because my love, but I was defensive because I'm like, never gonna forgive me. I'm gonna protect. I'm getting my suit. I'm gonna go pack and run away, and I'm flying home now.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
that was my first thing. I w- Anger is never anger. It's deep grief, deep regret,
Um,
deep yearning for a different outcome.
mm.
I just have done this work long enough that I thought these are my most challenging moments when
Yes.
they mean the most to me. Their love and connection, and they have been and seen it all. And I
Yes.
can't hide. I can't lie. I can't I got to show up and take 1000% accountability. And there comes a time where we also have to set a boundary. We're like,
Yes.
what do you need from me? Because I can't keep revisiting this.
That's good.
And,
Really good.
so there are different parameters, but we can't resist it. We can't, shame will keep us pivoting and keep
Yes.
us, but it's always going to be with our closest and our friends. Dynamics may change. I say,
Yes.
we have friends that we invite to the kitchen table and we share, and when they are no longer safe or they have betrayed, or we don't keep inviting them to the kitchen table having the same
Yeah.
conversation. They're moved to
Right.
the living room. And then
Yes.
we find that that's not a great place, then we move them to the porch. It doesn't
Yes.
mean we're not going to be friends. We just know the parameters and the boundaries that we have, and they may not like it. But
Yes.
it is not our job to make people happy. It just isn't
So
our
good.
job. I ask every day, what is your job? I look in the mirror every day. What do you need from me today, Dana?
Mhm.
Okay, you need that. Okay, I can do that. What is your job? My job isn't to show up all day long with clients and people please and tell them what they want to hear. My
Right.
job can be very difficult in the sense that I have to show up with love and compassion and say, and hear stories that I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna mirror that back to you, and I'm
Right.
gonna and we're gonna transform, and you're gonna be angry with me, maybe. Maybe you're gonna be angry with
Yeah.
me for a while. And I've gotten some angry. I'm furious at you. Well, you just sit with that, and I love
Yeah.
you, and I'm holding space, and let's revisit this tomorrow. And then it's like, now
So
that I
good.
sat with it, I see, and
Yes.
thank you so much. And I'm like, but I have to hold space for that too.
Yeah, yeah,
If I'm
and
out
that's
there to make
hard.
everyone like me,
Yeah.
not everyone's gonna like us. They're
No,
not
they're
gonna like
not.
me because maybe I wear my hair up or my hair down or my nose or this or that or I speak a certain way or my hands fly. There could be a million reasons why people process us in certain
Yes.
ways, but it has nothing to do with us. Nothing.
Yeah. That's
And so I
so
take
good.
yeah, it took me almost 60 years to say, I can honestly say I take nothing personal.
Yeah,
I love
wow.
deeply and I hold a lot of space and I forgive a lot as quickly as I can. And parameters and boundaries as much as I
Yes.
can because I know how precious this time is, and that
Yes.
time is our most valuable currency, and we
Yes.
don't get it back. And I don't wanna waste moments resisting and arguing. I wanna take accountability if that's what I need to do, or I need to release the relationship if that's what I need to
Yes.
do, because it
Right.
frees up on this 9.9, all this playing field, it frees up the people that need me, and if I'm full energetically over here negotiating and I'm exhausted and drained, I you have to question what do I need to I have to use the law of sacrifice and say, what do I need to sacrifice here and
That's
give up?
good.
Because I'm
That's
taking
good.
ownership of all of this. And
Yes.
it's not mine. It's
Right?
never been mine.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will stay in that because they feel
Yeah.
specifically around family, they feel like this critical allegiance that
Yeah.
I can't leave this. This is something this is life,
Yeah.
right? This is life or death.